In the next 40 minutes, I'm going to answer 40 key questions directed at recruiters and hiring managers in the high ticket sales space, which will dive into the psychology behind the people making decisions on you and whether they hire you or not, whether they move you forwards to an interview or not. So everything I cover in this video is applicable to you landing a role in the high ticket sales space. If you're looking to land one, throw this video on 2x speed and enjoy. And section 1 is about what hiring managers really look for. So what's something a founder tells you off the record that they want in a candidate but don't put in the job description. In my perspective, this is avatar fit. Probably 95% of the time, I don't see businesses mentioning specifically, especially in B2C, about a need to understand the prospect and the client avatar they're targeting. But when a rep does this and speaks about this in their application, they're always going to be moved forwards, because it is such an important part of high ticket sales and sales in general. Like, if you can't understand the pain and the goals and the objections that this type of person is going to have based on who they are as an individual, how are you going to sell them anything, right? So avatar fit, or understanding of the client avatar, I'd say is a major one. I don't see a lot of businesses. There are plenty of businesses in the space that do mention you must have XYZ experience, and that's obviously going to be there, but a lot of the time I don't see this in applications and businesses mentioning this in a job description. So question 2, what's one phrase in a rep's application that instantly makes you forward them to the hiring manager? For me, it's conviction. If you come into an application, you show your conviction in yourself, I find it just difficult to not believe people when they're really, truly convicted in themselves and they say things with energy behind them. So that would be the number one thing, is come in with conviction and belief behind yourself and what you're going to accomplish. Not what you could or what you might or what you maybe will, but what you are going to accomplish in this role. And I'm going to be like, shit, I guess I got to move this guy forward. So conviction. If two candidates are equally skilled, what's the X factor that breaks the tie? X factor for me is always going to be the culture. It's going to be how well do you fit and mesh with the existing team, with the business owner, with their vision and the team itself. Because if two people are equally skilled, the only thing that can determine anything else is how likely am I to want to work with this person on but in terms of the business owner or existing sales reps on the team, how likely is that person to actually want to interact with this person? Because if skills are on par, then the only thing left is the intangible side, which is usually going to be culture for businesses. So in terms of sales reps, when you're applying, if you're matched with someone on skill, you got to show them I'm the better fit for the culture. And it's important in general in your applications, in your interviews, to demonstrate you're a good fit for the culture of the team. Do hiring managers actually care about certifications, or is that just a resume filler? I just wrote here, lol. Anytime I see any it's usually cold outreach. I don't see it too much in actual applications, but it's usually cold outreach. But anytime you see I'm certified with blank blank from blank academy, will often probably just ignore that application, because usually it's someone who's very inexperienced, who clearly doesn't understand the space. Because if you understand the space, most people in the space know a certification is nothing, means nothing, is nothing, waste of time. So it's not a waste of time to go through programs and get training 100%, but your certification from a program or a training is not valuable whatsoever in and of itself, unfortunately. So what do top sales reps always mention in their intro call that average reps never do? It's numbers, right? The numbers are what separate people who have experience and can mention numbers from people who don't have experience and can't mention numbers, unfortunately. That's why I always tell people who do have no experience, and if that's you, in your application, even though you might not have revenue generated close rate, you have some numbers from past experience. Whether you were an account manager in a corporate business or whatever, you were managing X amount of revenue worth it of clients, right? You have numbers you can speak to. They weren't sales numbers, but they were numbers. So if you can say them, you're going to kind of be like batched in with the experienced guys who have their sales numbers they can speak about, rather than the inexperienced guys who don't have numbers they can speak about. So that's the number one thing that I'd say kind of separates experienced from inexperienced reps, or top sales reps from average reps. Instant red flags that kill candidates. What's one green flag on paper that turns into a red flag when you dig deeper? I put experience here. Obviously, in and of itself, experience is never going to be a red flag. However, major experience could be, because what I often see from people who are super experienced is that they're fat cat closers. A lot of people who are super experienced, if you don't make it very clear, hey, I'm still willing to work hard and put that effort in, businesses a lot of times could look at that as a red flag. This guy's got 5 years of high ticket sales experience. Well, he's obviously not going to be dialing and getting on the phones in his, when he has no shows and when he doesn't have calls booked. That's the kind of sales rep we want. So despite all this experience, we're going to move on. So make sure that if you do have a lot of experience, when they dig deeper, they see I'm still willing to put that work and that effort in. Are there any resume phrases or buzzwords that make you roll your eyes immediately? You spoke about it before. I put here certification. I got this certification, I got this, I got that. It doesn't matter. Now, the people that you have, and I'm going to, I think, speak about this in a little bit, the people you've worked with and trained with and whatever, that's valuable. But a certification from a program or course or whatever is not. What's one thing reps do in interviews that feels desperate even if they think it's impressive? Anytime you don't show conviction in yourself landing the role, I feel like that's always going to let you down. It might seem like you're being modest or you're being humble or whatever. Anytime you say, I hope to hear back from you, hoping to land the role, whatever it is, anything that is hope and isn't, I'm looking forward to this, you don't need to say like, I know I'm going to hear back from you, like I got this role in the bag, don't worry. You don't need to be cocky like that, but you do need to show conviction. I'm looking forward to working with you guys in the team, right? Oh, okay, this guy's already looking forward to working with us. We haven't even interviewed this guy, right? That's the kind of conviction and confidence I usually see that gets people in the door with a lot of opportunities. So, not showing hope in your interviews, but showing conviction in yourself. It's a big part, and I feel like I speak about this a lot, or that, conviction a lot in these kind of answers here. But yeah. How often do reps get rejected purely based off tonality or vibe, even if they have a strong track record? Always. In this high-ticket online space, we all know Loom videos are a key part of getting hired by these businesses. If your first couple of seconds of your Loom video, you don't have the right tonality or vibe, all of the time, I see businesses not move candidates forward purely based on that in the first few seconds, because you haven't even had the chance, because your energy wasn't enough, you haven't even had the chance to speak about your experience and qualifications for this role, right? And because of that, this tonality and vibe disallows you from landing these roles regardless of a strong track record. So I see it all the time. What's one thing a rep has said that got them disqualified instantly, even though it sounded logical, which is pre-existing commitment? So I guess technically this isn't like something that sounds logical as like this is what's going to allow me to land the role, but it's logical to bring up, right, in your application, in your interview, I've got this going, I'm in school, right? Or I'm currently working this job, or I'm, transitioning out of this role. Never mention that in the front end of your application. That's something I always say. Any pre-existing commitment you have, red flag comes up straight away from businesses. So don't mention it outright. Mention it later on when they've offered you the position. Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming on. What kind of hours are you expecting? I'm transitioning out of XYZ thing that is my pre-existing commitment. I want to be full-time with you guys, but that's kind of the situation I'm in right now. So I want to come on board. What's the time commitment? How can we make it work, right? And then rather than with what happens at the front end, if I say in my application, I'm in school or I've got this, or I'm currently working here or whatever, it's a red flag. Instead, I say it at the back end, it's a, how do we solve this problem, right? It's still a red flag, it's still an issue, but it's a solvable issue rather than an insolvable issue that we're not even going to bother with, which is what happens if you mention at the start. So that's that. Beating the gatekeepers and applicant tracking system. Do you actually read cold emails from candidates? What makes you respond? I do. Most recruiters won't. Most business owners won't look at any kind of cold emails. I like it. I find enjoyment from looking, sometimes laughing, sometimes really, taking stuff from some of these cold emails and applications that I can use in my personal endeavors. But what makes me respond is a pattern interrupt. So, and this is what you can do to get people to move forwards who usually won't read these cold emails or won't focus on cold emails or cold outreach. You want to interrupt their pattern, right? It's the same thing that people do in marketing. Like I've seen people's ads where literally the first thing in the ad is them like yelling because it's going to get you to stop scrolling. It's going to get you to be like, what? and then you click on it or you watch it or whatever. In this case, your opening line, your subject line of your email, or the opening line of your DM, so that like when they look in their DM inbox, right, on Instagram or whatever, they see that first line and they click on the message because that first line is interesting. Always has to interrupt the pattern and habit of this person who's reviewing these applications. So a pattern interrupt of some kind, right? Whatever it is. But your opening line needs to be interesting, engaging, not just closer application, Jackson Bardsley, right? That's not interesting. It's not going to get people engaged. What's a trick to get past automatic fillers or say jobs or for sales jobs is say what they want to hear. Say what the business wants to hear. Don't lie, but be as kind of wishy-washy, fitting the pieces wherever they can go kind of application as possible, because doing that is going to allow you to get past this gatekeeper, get past these automations, and go into the pipeline of getting an interview or going to the next stage of the application, right? So find whatever you can from your past experience or whatever, and fit it into what they are looking for, what their requirements are, and say what they want to hear, essentially. So hopefully that makes sense. How much does video outreach matter? What makes one stand out versus cringe? Number one, it's literally the most important thing. Your video outreach, or not outreach so much, but like your video application, your intro video, your Loom video, whatever you want to call it, is the number one most important thing. It's the resume of high ticket sales, because it is the demonstration of this is what you're getting, right? This is how I speak. This is how I look. This is what my setup looks like. This is my camera quality. This is my audio quality, all of that stuff. Here it is. Is this the kind of person you want representing your business? Because at the end of the day, that's what you are as a sales rep. You're a representation of a business. So it's the number one thing. What makes one stand out versus cringe? I think, I wouldn't say anything necessarily makes them cringe, but definitely makes them cringe like worthy. Like I'm going to look at it and I might cringe, not because like the video is cringe, but just because it's cringe in general, is when people are robotic and scripted and you can see them reading and it's very awkward. That's what I'd say makes one cringe. One that stands out is people that are confident, comfortable. It's just speaking, right? Just yapping to me in the video. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see people, very clearly uncomfortable. Because if you're uncomfortable in your introduction video, your video outreach, I'm going to look at that and go, this is how this person will show up on sales calls. Business owner, blah, 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 does not want this being the representation of their business, right? So that's it's the number one most important thing in my opinion. Are referrals always better, or do you sometimes prefer cold applicants? Referrals are always going to be better, but you can have a great cold application and get in the door with most opportunities. So I wouldn't say it's too different, but referrals in anything are always going to be more trusted and an easier go than not. So if someone doesn't have experience, and also with referrals, like if you come from somewhere that is well known and understood to be a high level place in the industry or the space, that's going to get you in the door with a lot more places than just cold applying to businesses, whatnot. And you'll also normally have better opportunities. So yeah, there's that. If someone doesn't have experience in the niche, how should they actually frame it? Now, empathy and understanding, that's the biggest thing. If you don't know if you don't have experience in the niche, you aren't inherently someone who can empathize with and understand these prospects. So you need to demonstrate your empathy and your understanding of these prospects to show, I think the first answer, avatar fit, right? To show that I fit with this avatar because I can empathize with XYZ problems they have. I understand XYZ goals they have, and I can bridge the gap between where they are now and where they're looking to get to through this program or service or course or whatever I'm selling, right? So that's the number one thing you can do. Show that you empathize with and understand people in this niche despite not having direct experience in it. Unspoken advantages and biases. What industry background secretly gets you bonus points even if the job is unrelated? I put failure or success. Oh yeah, okay. So I think I actually thought about this question a little bit differently when I put this here, but I'll say this anyway. This ties in a little bit more here. Is like, if you don't have a background selling something specifically, you can get bonus points by having failure having experience of failure in this industry or experience of success in this industry. Either way works, right? I could go, I have no experience in ecom, but I started an ecom dropshipping store and I lost $2,000. That is experience that is valuable for me to sell an ecom coaching offer because I understand, empathize with, and understand these prospects of this offer, right? So I think now that I'm looking at this, I looked at this question wrong. Industry background secretly gets you bonus points. If you have non-sales related experience, I'd say the number one thing that you can have experience in that isn't high ticket sales to get jobs is like door-to-door sales, just because it's very hard work and businesses know that, and they look at sales reps from those backgrounds and go, well, this guy can do this, he can come on, he can be a setter for me, he's going to make a lot more money and be a lot happier not being out in the sun knocking doors. So I'd say that's probably the number one like industry outside of high ticket sales in terms of experience you could have. Do reps with personal brands, YouTube, LinkedIn, newsletter have an edge? Why or why not? I personally believe no, because a lot of times having that could be looked at or would be looked at. I would personally look at it as a potential distraction from being all in with the role, all in with the company, all in with sales of this service that we're selling. That's the way that I look at it, is it's a distraction. So no, I wouldn't look at someone with an Instagram or a LinkedIn or a newsletter, right, and go, hey, this person is the right guy for the role. I'm going to look at them and go, well, maybe they're a little bit more focused on their personal brand and maybe launching a business from this personal brand than they are on actually selling our offer, right? So I would say no, but there are plenty of businesses that do value it a lot. So for me personally, no, but a lot of companies out there, yes, to answer the question specifically. How much does location still matter in a remote role? I put 50%. A lot of businesses like want people with the accent of whoever they're selling to. It's just much easier to build trust that way. But in general, it's not the most important thing in the world, because you can land a role with a business that says we only hire US reps as a UK or an Irish or an Australian or a European or a South American or a South African or an Asian or whatever sales rep, as long as you frame yourself right. So it's not the most important thing in the world, but it definitely matters. And there are some businesses that just like X out applications from people that aren't from the country that they're looking for or selling to. What's one unspoken advantage that unfairly helps reps land interviews? Is name dropping. If you can name drop people you've sold for previously, people that you've invested in for mentorship. I mentioned this before, like a certification doesn't matter, but saying I've worked directly with XYZ person who's mentored me and reviewed my calls and turned me into an absolute killer, a lot of businesses will look at that positively. So if you can name drop people that these businesses know, it's already going to build trust, because those people that you're name dropping have trust inherently built in their brand and whatever they've got going on. So it's the easiest way. Are some resumes too polished and get ignored because they feel fake? I think it depends. There's some businesses that will look at resumes and think that, but I'd say mostly no. And mostly the resume is not the most important thing, right? The Loom video is. So the reason I said depends is because if you have a really polished resume and your Loom video sucks, I'm probably going to look at that and go, okay, I'm going to ignore this application. But if the resume is really polished and like, well, this is a little bit overly perfect, and then I see their Loom video and I go, oh, this guy's actually just on it, I'm going to ignore that, and I'm not going to ignore the application. I'm going to ignore that it seems too polished, and definitely move them forward. So yeah, top 1% rep behaviors. What's the one thing that top 1% of reps do that average reps never even think of doing during the hiring process? Handling objections. It is a sales call. An interview is a sales call of you to this business that you're looking to land a role with. So handle objections in it. Top 1% reps, this is what I see them do. The best interviewer I have ever seen is the person who kind of like put me onto this. Not personally, like I wasn't trying to land a role myself, but like put me onto helping people do this, which is you want to handle your objections in an interview, right? You want to make sure that you don't leave it open to the business owner thinking, well, we've got this, and this issue with this rep. We're not going to move them forwards. You want them to go, okay, well, we've kind of got this problem, or you're lacking XYZ experience. And then me as the sales rep applying to the job go, well, blah, blah, blah. Here's why it's not an issue. Handle the objection of whatever the problem is the business might have with hiring you, like a sales rep would do on a call, because you have two birds with one stone. I'm showing my sales skills of objection handling, and I'm also getting myself in the door with this opportunity and taking any red flags or issues off the table for these businesses. So that's the number one thing you could do, the top 1% reps do, is handle your objections in interviews. How do elite reps ask for feedback or follow up that makes them stand out? It's use of proof, right? Call recordings, screenshots, use of proof of you doing this thing or success with this thing is far beyond the easiest thing that you can do to follow up and get opportunities back on the table that were potentially off the table, is showing I can do this. Easiest way to do this, if you're not experienced and you don't have real call recordings or real screenshots or real proof or real testimonials of business owners liking working with you as a sales rep, is go out, do a little bit of research on the offer. How much do they charge? What are their deliverables? Understand their process, right? Then go and do a mock call or a role play call, selling this offer to a mock prospect and send it to them. Hey, John, I literally just closed a deal for XYZ company. Check out this recording below. I'm going to look at that and I'm going to go, what? This guy just closed a deal? How does that even make sense? I'm going to watch that recording. And the goal isn't to have them go, oh, this guy just closed $5,000. Where's my $5,000? Your goal is to have them go, oh, wow, this guy can really close for us. This is the kind of sales rep, these are the kind of sales skills we need in our organization. And then they make the hire of you based on that proof of you doing it. You didn't just say you could do it in the interview. You went out, you proved it, you sold their offer in a good mock call that's realistic. First and foremost, make sure it's a realistic one. It's not, here's my credit card, right? But yeah, using proof. What is one resource or story reps have used to make a recruiter or founder say, damn, we need to hire this person? It's realistically just going above and beyond. So that proof that I spoke about before, that's it. That's the major thing I've seen reps do that have really allowed them to stand out, is just going above and beyond, doing the extra work, doing the extra research into the business that they can bring up on an interview, right? Anything that you can do to go above and beyond that 95% of other applicants will not be doing is always going to get you ahead of the crowd better than any other tip or trick or, unique thing that you could do. It's just like, actually do the work, actually go above and beyond. So yeah, how do the best sales reps handle being told, we'll keep your resume on file? It's sales, right? It comes down to the same thing of handling objections, right? Work your sales magic. You're a sales rep, you're looking for a sales job, sell them on why they shouldn't just keep your resume on file, why the prospect shouldn't just think about it, right? Handle the objection and close the damn deal. So do your sales stuff. That's what I'd say. What's one time a rep recovered mid-interview? Again, I'm going to keep going back to this, because this is just the easiest top 1% rep behavior, is objection handle. So specific rep who was told by a business, hey, you don't have this experience. We're not interested in bringing someone on who doesn't have this experience. He objection handled by asking about 3 or 4 questions to the interviewer. Like, I saw the recording of this interview, asking like 3 or 4 questions to the interviewer about why they wouldn't hire someone like that, what the reasons and backing behind that is, and then took that information and flipped it on its head and showed them why that isn't an issue, why that isn't a reason they shouldn't hire him. It makes sense why they wouldn't hire other people, but for him personally, it doesn't matter for XYZ reasons that he had based on his self, his personality, his experience, whatever. That was it. He asked the right questions and he objection handled them not being interested in bringing him on. The recruiter's personal playbook. What's your personal shortcut for filtering hundreds of applicants quickly? Watch the first 5 to 15 seconds of a loom. If the energy isn't right, delete the application. It doesn't matter what else they say because they don't have the right energy. So keep that in mind, obviously, when you're applying. I know this kind of part of it is like get in the mind of a recruiter. So that's what recruiters are thinking. So make sure the first 5 to 15 seconds of your loom video are on point. What do you look for in the first 6 seconds of a LinkedIn profile? I don't care about LinkedIn. I don't look at LinkedIn profiles if I'm recruiting directly for a role. Business owners that do, I'm assuming they're going to be looking for, to be honest, I can't speak from experience, so don't quote me on this, but they're going to be looking for the duration of experience in certain roles, right? Were you here for a month, here for 2 months, here for 3 months? Like, are you jumping ship a lot? Are you someone who's consistently with opportunities? And what types of businesses were they? Are they similar or a fit to what we're doing? Also, they're probably looking for, is this person currently in a role, currently hired, currently employed? If they are, okay, maybe they're not willing to commit 100% like I spoke about earlier, so we're not going to bring them on. So that's something to consider as well. How do you really decide who to put in front of the founder? It's 2 things. It's the energy and fit, right? Are they culture fit for this business? Is the energy right? Are they a fit for the prospect? Things like that. And then experience and competence. Experience less important. Competence is the important thing. Competence comes with experience. So being able to demonstrate that you are competent in doing whatever this role entails, setting, closing, DM setting, sales manager, whatever it is, showing you are competent in the skills necessary to succeed in this role, that's the most important thing. And then your fit or your energy for that team is the second thing. So I look for those two things before I'd put someone in front of a founder. What's one question you ask to secretly test a rep's confidence? This is something I see a lot of businesses do, is throw a random objection at them. Okay, if I'm a prospect and I tell you I need to think about it after we've just gone through a sales call, what do you say? All right, throw them in the fire. That's the number one thing. So come in, if you're a sales rep, come in prepared to handle a random objection, to randomly go into a discovery portion of a call, to randomly do a full role play of a setting mock call, even if you're applying to a closing role. Come prepared, expect the unexpected, and nothing's going to shock you. Nothing's going to blow you away. So, yeah. What's one question you ask to see if someone lies? About weaknesses. And so either like, what's your biggest weakness, right? That's a big question you're going to be asked by a lot of people on interviews. Very common question, right? Very open-ended question. The people that have BS answers for this about working too hard or about, whatever that just makes them seem great and good, that's immediately a lie, right? Everyone has weaknesses. If you're a human being, you have a weakness. It just exists inherently. We can't be perfect at everything, right? And also specific experiences with showing weakness or failure or things like that. So if you can't come in and speak about these negatives, speak about these failures, speak about these weaknesses, honestly and openly, you're clearly not the kind of person who's going to do well in sales. If you can't open up yourself as a human being in an interview, how can I expect you to get other people to open up, right? That's the biggest thing. So weakness and experience. And experiences of weakness or failure. Interviews and impressions. What's one way reps accidentally talk themselves out of an offer during final interviews? Asking the wrong questions. I speak about this a little bit later on. But asking the wrong questions is the number one thing. Like you asking about how much commission you can make, what the commission structure's like, how much you can make, how much reps on the team are making, right? Asking these kind of questions, always wrong. I'll get into what the right ones are in a little bit, down the line. I think in this question here, but just asking the wrong questions, not asking questions that frame yourself as an expert and frame yourself as someone who is in the business's best interest to hire. That's what I'd say. What questions do hiring managers use to test if you actually understand the company's offer or ICP? We ask about what objections typically would these prospects have. This shows your sales understanding, right? The familiar objections you get in general, but specified and nuanced and niched down to this offer and these prospects that we're targeting, the goals that they have, and the pain that they're dealing with. Realistically, these are the three things you need to understand to be able to sell people: is what's the pain they're dealing with, what are the goals that they're looking to achieve to surpass this pain, what are the objections they're going to have to moving forwards, because those are just like the three major things. So people will ask you questions about these. I would ask you questions about these three things in an interview, and you'd have to be able to explain confidently what those issues are. So yeah. How often does a candidate get passed on just because of poor mic or camera setup? If you've got a really poor mic and camera setup, like your camera is glitching all over the place, or the visual is just really dark, like right now I don't even have an ideal visual. I forgot to turn this light on, but like ideally I'd have this light on right here. So that's actually funnier that I realize that now. I'm in the middle of about to talk shit about people that have bad lighting, bad camera quality, bad audio or mic quality. Like my camera's kind of glitching out right now. Got too many tabs open, but yeah, that's a big thing. If you don't have that, how can I confidently put you on Zoom calls? I can't, right? So yeah, 90% of the time, if you've got really bad mic or camera setup, you're gonna get passed over. What's one power move a rep made during an interview that impressed the whole team? Personally, this is what I've seen. that I like a lot. I was hiring for a role that, you know, required a lot of compassion and empathy. And so in the group interview, I was looking out for who's showing that compassion, who's actually paying attention, listening to other people's answers and acknowledging the things they're saying. You don't need to be like, oh yeah, that's such a great answer, John, but just like listen to John's answer and go, yeah, you know, like just be present, show compassion for other applicants, other interviewees on a group interview, right? Show that compassion. That's a big thing that I've looked for. That's impressed me personally, and made me very close to hire. I didn't hire that person. They were very inexperienced. That's the thing. They were super inexperienced in the industry that we were hiring for, but because of that compassion and how important that was for the role that we were hiring for, we almost made that hire despite lack of experience and whatnot. So, and I believe the business actually went back and hired them down the line again. So, yeah. Now, what's the best answer you've ever heard to why should we hire you? I don't really have a specific thing to say here, so I didn't write anything down. Realistically, an answer to this question is going to come down to you personally, right? You want to show basically all the things that we've spoken about here in this is like, you want to show that you're the right avatar fit. You want to show you understand this ICP. You want to show compassion. Like you want to show everything that I've basically spoken about here in that answer. So you want to have, I guess the biggest thing is preparation here. If you haven't thought about this question coming in and you haven't tailored your answer to their offer and their business, you're never going to have a good answer here. You want to have it so that it is well thought about, it's articulate, it's concise, it's not super long and drawn out. So have it be articulate, well spoken, right? Have it be concise, not too long, and have it be tailored to the offer you're applying to specifically. You do those three things, you're going to have a great answer to why should we hire you. Sorry, I don't have a specific example, but that's that. Positioning and offer leverage. What's one line a rep used that actually worked? Again, I don't have a specific example here, but it comes down to betting on yourself. I do have a specific example here, actually. It wasn't directly in negotiation, but it was in a rep who had no experience applying for a role, who just had ultimate conviction in himself, in his ability to close these deals. And so he said to the business owner, if I can't close you in a 45-minute role play, I'll pay you, I don't know how much it was, but I'll pay you X amount, and apologize for wasting your time. If I can, I want the opportunity to come onto the team and show you guys what I can really do. And that just absolutely blew that business owner away. And like, I'm pretty sure the guy got hired. I don't know for sure, but I know he got through to like the next stage despite being completely underqualified. And I would just guess based on his confidence that he probably got hired for the role. So that's one thing. In terms of like actually like leveraging yourself in negotiation for an offer, it's just like back yourself, right? Bet on yourself. Show this business, I get it. I don't have this experience, or you guys want to maintain XYZ, you know, in terms of not paying out these commissions for whatever. I get it. When I do this, not if I achieve this, but when I achieve this, I want XYZ back, right? If you make things performance-based, businesses almost, obviously as long as it's within reason, businesses will not turn you down. They'll not turn you away in that negotiation. They'll be open to it because they want people that are top performers. They want people that are incentivized to absolutely crush it. So you want to bet on yourself, show them that you're betting on yourself in those negotiations. You can often set yourself up better. When should reps bring up comp expectations, and what's the best way to do it without killing momentum? I say never. Not never bring it up, but never bring it up directly. You want to bring up revenue over commissions or compensation. You want to, so bring up the compensation structure is totally fine, right? I just want to get an understanding, like when I'm closing a ton of deals, what's the compensation, bonus structure, things like that. That's not going to kill momentum. You want to have this conversation later, right? You don't want to have this in the front end of the interview. You don't want to seem too antsy to get to that conversation. So that's number one. But when you do, you want the conversation initially to be about revenue, right? You want to position yourself as a revenue-driven sales rep, not a commission-driven sales rep. I want to put money in your pocket, business owner, right? John, the business owner, I want to make you guys as much money as possible. I don't care about my commissions. What's the top sales rep on the team generating in terms of revenue? Not how much is he taking home. I could care less, right? I want to know how much he's bringing in revenue. Okay, great. Out of curiosity, if I was to come in and I was to bring in 50% more than that, whatever that number is. Don't say 50% more than that, but do the maths in your head, right? If I was to bring in, instead of 200K a month, if I was to bring in 300K per month, what would the compensation structure look like on that? Like, is there bonuses and things in place? Is there tiered commission or whatever? Totally fine if not. I just want to get a good understanding of what that structure looks like so that I can come in and do as much damage in terms of revenue generated for you guys as possible down the line, right? And that way you're setting yourself up as revenue focused, looking to be a top performer, all of these positive traits that business owners look for simply by asking, I spoke about, right? Asking the wrong questions, by asking the right questions, asking revenue focused questions rather than commission focused questions. So that would be the main thing that I see people do to kill momentum. Like, business owners want you to want to make money. That's great. But if you can just show them, I want to make you money and I make money in that process, that's always going to be best or better. How can a rep find out if a recruiter is incentivized to push them forward versus ghosting them? I was a little confused by this question, but realistically, anything like you want to find out if you're in that position where you're maybe being ghosted and you're not hearing back, like, ask, be straight up, because worst case, you continue to not hear. Best case, or maybe worst case, is you hear back and they tell you to piss off, like, stop asking them questions. But again, that's like not any worse than them ghosting you, to be honest. That's better because at least you got an answer. But best case is they tell you. So that's the easiest way to find out anything. It's just ask, right? Out of curiosity, like, what would I have to tell you guys, or what would I have to bring to the table to have you push me forwards? Like, what's your structure in terms of pushing people forwards? Like, how can I incentivize you to move me forwards? Because I know I could crush it, right? Again, conviction, because I know I can do this. How can I incentivize you guys to allow me to take those next steps, right? Ask, be blunt, be transparent, be open. Have you ever been so impressed by a rep that you pitched them to multiple clients, even if they didn't get the first one? Always. The biggest story I know of this is a sales rep who went into a really big organization doing $1 million a month as a relative newbie in the space, and he didn't perform. He sucked. He didn't suck, but like, he didn't generate anything. He didn't close any deals. So, I mean, in terms of numbers, he sucked, right? But that whole process, he spent doing absolutely everything he could, working so hard. And the reason he wasn't closing was he really wasn't he just wasn't a good fit for the industry and niche and the client avatar that this business was targeting. And based on that, he wasn't able to perform. And so what happened was he had to be offboarded. The sales manager said to him, like, hey, unfortunately, I can't keep you on the team. Like, he kept him on the team for a really long time because he was doing the extra work. He was going the extra mile. But what happened was the sales manager was like, look, I know you could crush it somewhere. It's just not here, unfortunately. Here's 3 business owners. Connect him with 3 high-level $1 million per month business owners to see if any of them would be interested. He got hired to one of them. He's absolutely fucking crushing it now, doing $20K a month in commissions. So that story shows you that absolutely, you don't even need to impress like in a resume or anything, or in a Loom video or whatever. Just put your best foot forward. Do absolutely everything you can. Here's a really worst case scenario, right? If you land a role with a business that sucks, doing no revenue, no lead gen, everything's bad, and you do everything you can to do the best work possible for this business, you make a little bit of money, not really very much, you generate a little bit of revenue, not very much. This business owner who's struggling probably knows some people that are not struggling who need sales reps. And if you go to the business owner and say, look, I've tried everything I can, you've seen the work I've been putting in, I do need to move somewhere else. Oftentimes, I would suggest that business owner will be like, hey, I totally get it. I really appreciate all of these things you've been doing. I'm sorry this wasn't able to work out. Let me connect you with XYZ guy that I know who's hiring reps, right? And they're going to connect you with them, and that person is going to go and maybe hire you and maybe get in a much better position where you make a lot more money simply because you did everything you could. You didn't say, this sucks. I'm not going to work hard here. But you still worked hard because it did suck, despite that it sucked. And you went in and you put your best foot forward, and the business owner liked you for it, and they are forever going to back you and be a referral for you moving forward. So that's the way that I look at that, is that can always be the case as long as you're genuinely someone who does the work. What's something a rep can do after getting on and off to stand out in the onboarding process? Again, it's just go the extra mile. Ask the extra questions. Review the extra calls. Ask for the extra mocks and role plays with the sales manager. Do the extra work. Go the extra mile. and you will always be able to stand out above and beyond everyone else, because most people, the bar is low for effort in this space. In my experience, the bar for effort in the high ticket sales space is really low. So if you can be above that bar, you can put in extra work, go the extra mile, you're going to be far beyond most people in the industry. So that's my answers to 40 questions for sales recruiters in 40 minutes. Hopefully that all makes sense. And yeah, appreciate you watching.